The last video was about how to multiply two cycles, and I have explained the multiplication in detail. Now let us see few more examples of multiplication of two cycles. So this is one question. Find the product of following cycles in S8. So the first cycle, remember that you are in S8. First cycle is 3, 5, 7, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 4. Is the second cycle, and 6, 8, 3, 2, 1 is the third cycle. So you have to multiply these three cycles. So we will do the multiplication. Let us call this as sigma, this cycle is tau, and this cycle as some alpha. So sigma, tau, alpha. You have to multiply from right to left. So let us start with the rightmost cycle as we have done in the previous problem. 1, and let us see the image of 1 in the rightmost cycle. Again, you can start with any element, you can start with 6 also. I'm starting with 1. So in the rightmost cycle, which is that cycle alpha. So in alpha, what do you see? Let us write that cycle. 1, 6, 8, 3, 2, 1. So here you observe that 1 goes to 6. Then in the next cycle, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 4, 6 maps to 5. And then in the next cycle, 3, 5, 7, your 5 maps to 7. So 1 is mapping to 7. Now you have to see the image of 7. So start with 7 and start with the rightmost cycle. 6, 8, 3, 2, 1. So 7 is not present here, so 7 will be fixed. So 7 goes to 7. Then in the next cycle, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 4. Again 7 is not present, so 7 is fixed. And in the last cycle, 3, 5, 7, 7 goes to 3. So what is the conclusion? That 7 is mapping to 3. Now let us find the image of 3, where 3 maps. So start with the leftmost cycle, 6, 8, 3, 2, 1. Here 3 maps to 2, so 3 goes to 2. Then in the nextmost cycle, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 4, you see that 2 maps to 3, so 2 goes to 3. And in the last cycle, 3, 5, 7, 3 maps to 5, so 3 goes to 5. And therefore, finally 3 is mapping to 5. Okay, then let us find the image of 5. So last cycle, 6, 8, 3, 2, 1. 5 is not present, so 5 is fixed. In 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 4, you see that 5 maps to 4. And in the last cycle, 3, 5, 7, there is no 4, so 4 is mapping to itself. So therefore the conclusion is 5 maps to 4. So 1 maps to 7, 7 maps to 3, 3 maps to 5, and 5 maps to 4. Now let us see where 4 goes. So in the rightmost cycle, 6, 8, 3, 2, 1, 4 is not present, so 4 is fixed. Then in the next cycle, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 4. What do we observe? We observe that 4 maps to 2, so 4 goes to 2. And in the last cycle, 3, 5, 7, 2 is not present, so 2 is fixed, and therefore the conclusion is that 4 maps to 2. Now to see the image of 2, start with the rightmost cycle, 6, 8, 3, 2, 1, and we see that 2 maps to 1 here. Then in the next cycle, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 4, we observe that 1 maps to 6, and in the last cycle, 3, 5, 7, 6 is not present, so 6 is fixed, and therefore the conclusion is 2 maps to 6. Now let us see the image of 6. So 6 goes to 6, 8, 3, 2, 1 in the cycle, 6, 8, 3, 2, 1, 6 maps to 8. And in the next cycle, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 4, 8 is not present, so 8 is fixed. Similarly, 8 is fixed by the last cycle also because 8 is not there. So the conclusion is that 6 maps to 8. Now lastly, let us see the image of 8. 6, 8, 3, 2, 1. This cycle maps 8 to 3. So 8 goes to 3. Then 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 4. This cycle maps 3 to 1. So 3 goes to 1. And in the last cycle, 3, 5, and 7. 1 is not there, so 1 is fixed, and therefore the conclusion is 1 maps to 1, 8 maps to 1. So you observe that again we came back to 1. We have started with 1. This is our starting line. We have started with 1 and we came back to 1. And have we covered all the numbers? 1 goes to 7, 7 goes to 3, 3 goes to 5, 5 goes to 4, 4 goes to 2, 2 goes to 6, and 6 goes to 8. So all the numbers are covered, and therefore the multiplication of these 3 cycles, sigma, tau, and alpha, is 1 mapping to 7, then 7 mapping to 3, then 3 mapping to 5, then 5 mapping to 4, then 4 mapping to 2, 2 mapping to 6, 6 going to 8, and 8 again going back to 1. So this is the multiplication. Let us do one more example so that the multiplication will be clear in your mind. So let us consider this example from S8. Multiplication of these 3 cycles, 5, 4, 3. So one example we have seen how to multiply 3 permutation in S8. Let us see one more example from S8 only. So the first cycle is 5, 4, 3, second is 1, 2, 8, and the third cycle is 6, 3, 4, 7. We have to multiply these 3 cycles. So let us call the first one as sigma, second as tau, and third one as alpha. And let us see the multiplication of sigma, tau, and alpha. As usual, you have to multiply from right to left. We have seen the multiplication of the permutation in detail. So here we are going to multiply directly. So let us start with the rightmost cycle and the number 6. So in the rightmost cycle, 6 is mapping to 3. Here in the next cycle, 3 is not present, so 3 is fixed. Move to the next cycle. Here you observe that 3 maps to 5. So therefore 6 has to map to 5. So 6 maps to 5. Now we have to find the image of 5. So start with the rightmost cycle again. 5 is not present, so 5 maps to itself. Here 5 maps to itself, and here 5 is mapping to 4. So 5 will map to 4. Again, we have to start with the rightmost cycle. Here 4 maps to 7. Then in the next cycle 7 is not present, so 7 is fixed. Here also 7 is fixed. So the meaning is 7 is mapping to 7 and therefore 4 maps to 7. Now let us see the image of 7. So here in the rightmost cycle 7 maps to 6. In the next cycle you see the image of 6. 6 is not there, so 6 is fixed here. Here also 6 is not there, so 6 is fixed. So the conclusion is that 7 should map to 6. And therefore as 7 maps to 6 we have to close the cycle here. So now start with the number which is not there in this cycle and let us see the image of that element. So let me start with 1 and see the image of 1. So in the rightmost cycle 1 is not present, so 1 maps to 1, here 1 maps to 2, here 2 is fixed, so 1 has to map to 2. Then next here 2 is not there, so 2 is fixed. The image of 2 is 8 here, and here 8 is fixed, so 2 will map to 8. Then in this cycle 8 is not present, so 8 is fixed. Here 8 maps to 1, and the next cycle 1 is not there, so 1 maps to itself, and therefore 8 has to map to 1, and so we have to close the cycle here as 8 maps to 1. Now we have 7 numbers, so 1 number is missing, so let us see the image of that number, which is 3. So in the rightmost cycle 3 maps to 4. Here 4 is not present, so 4 maps to itself, and in the last cycle 4 maps to 3. So we have understood that 3 should map to 3 here, and therefore you have got one cycle 3. So therefore sigma, tau and alpha can be written like this with the omission of one cycle, because it is understood that 3 is fixed. Let us see one more example so that you get a practice of multiplying the permutations, the cycles. So let us multiply 3 cycles in S8 again. First cycle is 8, 1, 4, 3. Second is 3, 4, 2, 5. And the third cycle is 1, 6, 7, 5, 2. To multiply these 2 cycles in S8, again I am calling these cycles as sigma tau alpha, and the multiplication of sigma tau alpha is, let us start with the rightmost cycle, and you can select any number from this cycle. I am selecting 1, so let us see the image of 1. 1 goes to 6, here 6 is not there, so 6 is fixed, 6 is fixed, so 1 is going to 6. Then in the rightmost cycle 6 goes to 7, 7 is not present, 7 is not present, so 7 is mapping to 7, and therefore 6 has to map to 7. Then 7 maps to 5 here in the rightmost cycle. In the next cycle you have to see the image of 5, 5 maps to 3. In the next cycle you have to see the image of 3, 3 maps to 4. So the conclusion is that 7 should map to 4. Then in the rightmost cycle see the image of 4, 4 is not present, so 4 maps to itself. Then here 4 maps to 2. So in the next cycle you have to see the image of 2, 2 is not there, so 2 is mapping to itself, and therefore the conclusion is 4 maps to 2. Now in the rightmost cycle 2 maps to 1. Here 1 is not present, so 1 is fixed, and here 1 maps to 3, so the conclusion is 2 maps to 3. Then in the last cycle 3 is not present, 3 maps to itself, here 3 maps to 4, and here 4 maps to 8. So the conclusion is that 3 should map to 8. Then in the last cycle 8 is not present, here also 8 is not present, so 8 is fixed by both the cycles, and here 8 maps to 1. So 8 is mapping to 1, and therefore we have to close the cycle here. So here in this cycle we have got 7 numbers, 1 number is missing, which is 5. So let us see the image of 5. So in this cycle, rightmost cycle 5 maps to 2. In the next cycle 2 maps to 5. And in the next cycle 5 is not present, so 5 is fixed. That is 5 maps to itself. So we'll close the bracket here, we'll close the cycle here, and therefore sigma tau alpha after omission of this one cycle is 1, 6, 7, 4, 2, 3, 8. 5 is not present, so it means that 5 is fixed by this cycle.